I don't really understand this, and it's called the Community Reinvestment Act. And two groups, Economic Action Maryland and the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, is advocating a statewide Community Reinvestment Act for Maryland, similar to the Federal Community Reinvestment Act, which focuses on whether banks are discriminating against, people of color. It seems to me that, we've had this, issue before in the, early 2000s, and it led to the Great Recession of 2008 and 9, when, people who were really not qualified for loans got loans and then defaulted on those loans. So, Nancy, the proposal only applies to state chartered banks and savings and loans, but how does this stimulate development of new homes and new residential units?
Well, I'm not particularly familiar with it, but more scrutiny means more paperwork. And the question is, will that truly increase affordability to the extent that it requires that lenders spread their money around? That's not a bad thing, but that to the end, certainly the standards for lending, I believe, would continue to be relatively consistent. The criteria may well be geographical, which, historically that's been an issue with redlining since the 70s. I'm not aware of that occurring in Montgomery County at this point in time. But the question is, well, what is the object that they seek? To the extent that people are denied loans because they can't afford to carry them, it's going to really raise the question of who's insuring these banks and these loans. And, again, government money might be put behind these to support this. Now, lots of people need a hand up, and that's not so terrible. But the question is how many and where. So it'll be interesting to see.
Well, I mean, there's certainly federal programs in place. I mean, Wells Fargo paid huge fines when it was discovered that they had been denying people mortgages or charging them additional fees when there were people of color. So, I mean, there are definitely remedial measures in place, and I guess this would only apply to state funded or state chartered banks. Laurie, the Governor Moore, I'm just going to shift gears here for a second, announced that $6.3 million in funding for affordable housing in Silver Spring. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket. I mean, if, $6.3 million doesn't do a lot. It won't build more than 10 units really. So why is that the only solution? Is just throwing money at the problem? And again, I'm a free market guy. Why not unshackle developers and allow them to build, new homes?
Yeah, it's because Governor Moore can't help himself. Whenever he gets a chance for a press release where he can show up somewhere and have a news conference about it, it makes him look good. And he's got his hands in the purse with our government he's got our money, and he's getting immediate accolades whenever he doles out the money. So it's sad because he really knows that it's the wrong thing to do. He's smart and he's playing a political game, and it works well in the short term, but mark my words, he will never become anything higher than the governor. He may not even serve a second term as a constant appeaser. When the yes people are all around him, he's making big mistakes, and that will bite him in the long run. And I wish he would realize that if he really has plans to move forward to some other position, such as president of the United States in the future.
Well, Laurie, my gosh, we haven't even gotten to 2024 and you're already projecting 2028. So,
well, they're talking about it all the time on the radio. He's got aspirations and he's doing a great job. It's working for him right now. But he supports tax money for gender and gender changes and for hormone therapy for children. He's supporting the gun bill that's going to be struck down as unconstitutional, that Senate Bill 1 that passed this year. He signed it. And he's handing money out like candy. So it's not going to look good in the long term for him. Well,
there are a lot of failed politicians who got a lot of ink and press at the beginning and didn't break through, but we'll see. Maybe we got a lot.
Well, I mean, look at Governor DeSantis. He did some things against the grain of the whole United States.
Laurie, we're talking about housing now. We got to stick to the stay.
I have to say that though. Just look at what's happening.
I think I'm not on the wrong show here.
Parting shot. We got to go to break.